So one of my first questions, and I think one of a lot of fans of Demon's Souls and Dark Souls questions is, what gameplay elements are going to carry over? And at first I was going to ask about the bonfires, and then obviously we saw that the bonfires do make an appearance. But I noticed that you don't have Estus flasks anymore. So can you explain a little bit about the healing system?
そうですね、お答えできる範囲にはなってしまうんですけども、基本的には前作の主要な仕様というものは全て引き継いでいます。
So, in terms of what we can tell you at this point, a lot of the features, a lot of the functionality that was available in Dark Souls 1 will be carried over into Dark Souls 2, so that players can experience and be comfortable with being able to take their experience from Dark Souls 1 into Dark Souls 2.
Very cool.
どうぞ。
今の質問でも出た、エストビンについても、今回も引き続き、存在はします。
Yeah, and to answer your question about the Estus flasks, they will remain in the game as well.
Okay. Also, one of the things you could obviously notice immediately from the gameplay was an emphasis on dragons. Whether it be the dragons flying around the drawbridge or the dragon bones. Is that really kind of a thematic core to the game?
そうですね、今回のストーリーでは、竜というのがかなり重要な位置を占めています。
Yes, definitely. Dragons are a key element to the story of the game for Dark Souls 2, and so yes, as you saw a lot of dragons in the footage or the gameplay, yeah, I think they will be a key element that will be experienced.
You mentioned story, and I'm sure we're early out, so there's not a lot you can say, but one of the things a lot of people, myself included, loved about the story in Dark Souls was that you really had to work in order to find it, and you had to come up with your own theories and really dig into it. Is that something, that method of storytelling, something that's going to carry over into Dark Souls 2 as well?
その通りです。継続するつもりです。まあダークソウルのスピリットとしては、やっぱりそのユーザー自身が自分で想像力を働かせながら、これはこういうことなんじゃないかとか、あれはこういうこと、ああいうことなんじゃないかって、想像しながらストーリーを紡いでいくっていうところに、一つの楽しさがあったと思っています。それは今回もその要素は十分表現したいと考えています。
Yes, definitely. One of the spiritual elements to Dark Souls, the whole Dark Souls series, I guess, is the way we storytell. And what we really encourage and want the players to do is really look into the key or even small details that you see throughout the game and really imagine the story for yourself and really try to encompass all the information and create your own story as you play through the game. And that's a key element to the Dark Souls world itself, and we will continue to provide that sort of feature within Dark Souls 2.
Also, it's immediately evident from the demo that the graphics have definitely taken a step up, and you notice wind effects with moving the player's cloth and just moving plants in the background, and really makes the world feel alive. And was that something you wanted to give this setting and have it almost step at the forefront and become a character itself?
先ほどの説明でプレイヤーの没入感を高めることが重要というお話をしたと思うんですけども、そのためのその手段の一つとして風は重要な要素だと考えています。
Yes, so definitely. We wanted to bring life to the game. We wanted, as I said earlier, we wanted to get the players to really dive deep into the world and really sink down deep and feel like a part of it. And with one of the methods in doing that, wind was a key feature for us to really implement to bring that liveliness, as you said, in the game.
Just even a gap in the jump from Demon's Souls to Dark Souls, you were able to draw in so many new players, and a lot of them that didn't realize that this is the kind of game that they would want to play. And now when making Dark Souls 2, how do you balance being able to make a game that is accessible to new players, but at the same time having fans of the entire series still feel fulfilled?
まずですね、このタイトルでは2点重要なコンセプトというものがありまして、一つが、その困難を乗り越えた達成感というものと、他のユーザーとの緩いつながりというもの、その重要な2点がまず、シリーズのコンセプトとして存在すると思っています。
So, two underlying concepts for Dark Souls 2 sort of continues on from Dark Souls 1 as well, but again, it's the sense of satisfaction of overcoming the difficulties in the game. So that's an underlying concept that we want to maintain. The second is the sort of loose connection that you have with other players throughout the world. And so that sort of carries over, but we really treasure that as the underlying concepts for this whole Dark Souls series.
で、まあ、よくあるパターンとしては、まあ、そのコンセプトとは全然外れた、まあ、新しい要素とかを付け加えていくっていうのが、まあ、通常のよくある手段としてあるんですけども、我々の考えとしてはそうではなくて、その2つのコンセプトを、まあ、より強調してより多くのユーザーに伝えていくために、その2つのコンセプトをよりなんて言うんでしょうね、多くのユーザーが楽しんでもらえるような機能っていうのを入れていこうという方向性で、いろんな仕様を検討しています。
And I'm sure for a lot of other game series or game franchises, when you come up with a sequel, you try to add on features. But what we really want to concentrate on is not really adding on new features for the new players, but actually to really emphasize the core underlying concepts that I just mentioned, and really to try and dig down deep into that, so that those concepts can be effectively expressed to the new players, so that the new players can also experience what we are trying to communicate with this game. So you mentioned accessible, but not necessarily make it accessible, but make it more clear in terms of what we want to express using the underlying concepts of Dark Souls.
Going along with that expression, I guess there are a lot of elements on the HUD that seemed foreign to me that I didn't that weren't in the original Dark Souls. Is there anything you could say about either there was the kind of celestial icon next to your health and stamina, or the different smaller boxes next to your items in the bottom left-hand corner? Is there anything you can say about those?
ですね、まだ開発中なのでちょっと申し訳ないんですけど、細かい説明はできないんですけれども、UI についても一通りの見直しは行ってはいます。ただそれは前作から丸ごと変えようっていうよりは、実際ユーザーさんがこういうところが不便だったっていう声を受けて、それを、なんていうか素直に、聞き入れ素直にそれに対応していこうっていうスタンスで今やっています。
We're still in development, so a lot of things are still bound to change to a certain extent. But in terms of the HUD, we really tried to listen to the voices and the feedback that the players gave us in terms of usability and understandability, I guess, of the interface. So we've taken a lot of that, absorbed a lot of the feedback that we got, and are doing our best to try and revisit it so that it is more convenient, I guess, in terms of a usability standpoint. So that's something that we're trying to adjust through development.
Does that idea of listening to the fans translate across all spectrums of the game, from multiplayer to the way kind of New Game Plus is handled?
もちろんです。
Yes, definitely. We want to hear what the fans want to say about the game.
Yeah, that's excellent. Are there any direct changes to combat that you made, or is it a player who, because we saw picking up the torch in order to illuminate an area, but will a player who played Dark Souls 1 be able to pick up a controller and immediately understand the grammar of the game?
そうですね、基本的な戦闘システムについては、前作を継承していますが、今回は表現力の向上っていうのは一つのテーマにしていまして、プレイヤーのモーションなんかも全てモーションキャプチャーで、撮ってですね、より自然な形での動きっていうのを、実際のゲームプレイの中に取り入れていこうと考えたりはしています。
Yeah, so the combat system, the underlying base combat system will be similar to Dark Souls 1. So hopefully experienced players that played Dark Souls 1 will be able to dive deep into Dark Souls 2 immediately. What we really focused on in terms of the combat system for Dark Souls 2 is the expression of the motions. This time we've really implemented motion capture to the player motions for more natural movements, more for realistic motions that will allow the players to play with a more natural feel and play with their reactions a little bit more.
I mean, the demo, it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to play it. But is there, I guess, going out, do you guys have a time frame for when we're going to be able to actually get our hands on this?
そうですね、今はちょっと鋭意制作中としかちょっと申し上げられないところですね。
It's a tough one to directly answer. We are in development. We're really driving forward to get the best possible game out to players out there. So we'll continue to drive forward, and hopefully we can inform you a little bit more later on in the cycle.